please check on the student website. Okay. And maybe in the time plan also. Okay. I don't know. They said from tomorrow, someone was telling me, but I didn't get any information. If suppose if you are not get any information, then maybe tomorrow's lecture we will try to do online, and maybe then next Wednesday, then we will see how it. Okay. So it seems that in a time plan, the room number is there. Okay. So do you think like I mean? We will try, or I don't know. Okay, so what we will do, I will go to the room, lecture room tomorrow. Okay, if suppose some of you are in near the Grimstad campus or near, so few of them maybe you can come to the classroom. We will see how we can manage it. Okay, and then we will see if we can do the live telecast from there, or how we can record, or how we can get other students through Zoom also. Okay, if not, then from the classroom, then I will, as usual, I will put it in through the using laptop, basically let's say our computer, and we will use Zoom. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we will try. Okay, so okay, so that is for the ENE 411, and we will discuss that one. And now we will start with ENE 506. And I heard that you have a very good workshop on Homer on designing of or capacity sizing of a renewable energy system based microgrid, and how the operation has to be done, and how we can do the performance evaluation before the installation. So I believe that you can get the idea through that presentation and doing some practice through workshop or through the free trial. Okay, you can get some confidence, and that confidence you can use for your maybe in the research project also, or maybe in the major project, or maybe doing some of the research task related to ENE 506. And then again I requested Konara, then he is also going to organize a workshop on Simulink or MATLAB for doing some typical topology for connecting the photovoltaic system to the grid with a different type of inverters, and how it is going to follow the different topology. Because this course we are following as a at a high level course, and in this high level course we are trying to get information related to the smart grid, where we can have full integration of different type of technologies, and how you can integrate the learning from the different subjects in this course. So I'm going to start with this one slide which I'm sharing with you, and I believe that I already discussed this slide with you, but I want to highlight this slide with a much more focused way with you, right? So that I mean you can get the overview, and very short I'm going to organize one-to-one meeting with all of you. I will make a proper schedule, and then we will discuss with each individual students for 15 minutes, let's say, to find out on which topic student is interested in doing the research oriented learning in this course. one point. Second point, then how me and Kunara can provide you further inputs related to this, related to your research oriented learning. Okay. So coming back to this picture here, you can getting the overview of the smart grid. So here you can see that in the smart grid we already discussed that we can have multiple integration of different type of energy resources, and especially within the distributed generations. Also we discussed that how the consumer can participate um, in the smart grid or the energy management process also. So the consumer can become, let's say, the producer also and the consumer also. Then also we need to discuss that how the 21st century energy needs, especially electrical energy needs, can be fulfilled using renewable energy sources, and what type of modifications we may need within the power system network. Then another thing which is going to help us, that is the electricity market. And in this electricity market we have to see that how this different type of renewable energy sources due to their integration and due to the intelligent nature of the smart grid, how the different type of electricity market can be developed. Then another thing which is a very interesting, that is the self-healing. When we have so many different type of intermittent renewable energy sources, energy storage, consumer participation also, and electricity market and new technologies getting integrated into the power system network. So it is expected that there may be some problems or faults also. So, and this such type of system or the microgrid or the smart microgrid within the smart grid environment should have the facility of the self-healing. Or for example, if suppose there is some fault, then how we can isolate only that system rather than the complete area. Okay, so that is again a very interesting point with reference to the self-healing. Then we are talking about integration of different sources. Then you might have seen in your Homer workshop also that energy storage is also going to be the key component for that purpose. So how the energy storage should be incorporated within the distributed network for making it more smart, intelligent and controllable. So whether we should have the distributed energy storage or we should have the centralized energy storage. So that again point is very interesting and we need to study. Then another point which we have to consider that optimization of assets and operating them more efficiently. So this point is more from the high level point of view. It means that when the higher voltage level or the medium voltage level, if they have been connected to the distributed network, so that connection, how we have to make, whether we should make it through the back-to-back converter or AC to DC and DC to AC converter, and only taking the active power from the main grid, not the reactive power. In that condition, we are improving the efficiency of the higher voltage and medium voltage network. How we are improving the efficiency? It means that we are reducing the power losses, or if you take with reference to the time, then it is going to be energy losses on the higher voltage and medium voltage network, because we are taking only the active power and not the reactive power, and that is going to be possible with the help of back-to-back converter. So it means that with the help of the smart grid, we are improving the energy efficiency of the power system network, we are optimizing the assets, and we are increasing their technical lifetime. So here you can see that all these points, they are going to be integrated or connected within the smart grid. So with reference to this point, now I'm going to share another presentation with you. So can you see the new presentation? Hello? Which slide you are able to see now? So now it is correct. Very good. So now let's say we want to work on the smart grid overview. Okay, so I have given you the uh, technical challenges and the opportunities which are going to be available due to modernization of the distributed network with reference to the smart technology. So here we will discuss that how the technical challenges are going to be there due to the operation of such type of system. So smart grid is going to be using the information technology infrastructure. Okay, it means that without information communication technologies, smart grid is not able to work. That is going to be the key part. Another point, if you might have, if you discuss with the people who are having the computer engineering background or information technology background, their definition for the smart grid is that to utilize the ICT infrastructure. But now we are the student of electrical renewable energy engineering, and in my opinion, we are going to use the information communication technology as a platform for integrating or increasing the penetration of renewable energy sources and other distributed generators. So if we have the information communication technology infrastructure and we are, let's say we are using within the electrical power system network, but if we are not using that infrastructure for increasing penetration of clean energy sources and distributed generations, then there is no meaning just to collect the information. Okay, so if we are in a position to collect the to use the ICT, then we have to give much more focus how those technology or how that platform is going to be used for promoting the integration of intermittent renewable energy sources, or in short clean energy sources and distributed generations. So due to that, you might have seen or you might have observed that we are going to have very high speed, real time, multi-way communications. Okay, so we are going to collect the information communications in both direction or in multiple directions. And then when we have so many devices, right, through which we are going to get the information, then we have very important point that we need to incorporate different type of sensors throughout the grid to enable rapid diagnosis and corrections. So it means that when we are collecting the data, then we are doing the power condition monitoring of the smart grid or the distributed network. This power condition monitoring is going to help us whether we are going to get the good power quality or not. Okay, harmonic analysis, voltage analysis, real power analysis, reactive power analysis, and balanced and unbalanced conditions, for example positive sequence currents, negative sequence current, zero sequence currents, and so on and so forth. So those information with respect to the time, okay, are going to help us for enabling rapid diagnosis and corrections. Okay, this is a very good point here. Then this smart grid is going to provide the data for making fast decision, as well as that data can be used for power demand side management. It means that to reduce the peak load, okay, and make the load factor near to the unity or more uniform load distribution. Then this smart grid is going to help us for integrating different type of distributed technologies and also managing the controllable load also. And of course, then we need to have the automated smart substations, in home energy control devices, and automated home energy use. So here you can see that the smart grid is going to help us to provide all these informations, okay, and all these informations are going to be useful for future development of a power system. So here we have seen that not only the generation, transmission, distribution, market, operation and planning, they are going to affect due to the smart grid. Okay, so for example, if you want to do some of the study on the generation side, that also can be done. For example, let's say we have the increasing penetration of renewable energy sources, and those are going to get the priority for energy supply. Due to that, the conventional power plants, they have to operate at the reduced capacity. So how the planning can be done on the generation side, that factor is again very interesting and important. Then another very important point is on the transmission side, how it is going to. So transmission side means either medium voltage or high voltage side. Okay, and in the previous slide I mentioned that with the help of the back-to-back converter of microgrid with the main grid, we can reduce the reactive power, and then at the same time then loading, current loading of the transmission lines or the power lines. Due to that, their efficiency is going to increase and we are going to operate them more efficiently. So that is going to come under the category of transmission. Then distribution, we already discussed about that. It means that within the distributed network, how we have to develop the different type of microgrid architecture for operating them autonomously or more independently, or maybe in the islanding mode also. Okay, due to all these points, how the energy market is going to change, that also need further investigation. So that point also some of you, if interested, can consider for your research point. And due to all these things, complications, how the operation is going to happen, that also we need to study. And based on that, how the energy system planner, they can do the planning for next 25 years. Okay, so there is a lot of opportunities and challenges also for doing further work. Then another thing, when we are going to use information communication technology, then we have to work on cyber and physical security system, through which we can do the intelligent monitoring of the system and outage management. Then every area is going to work as a one area. So we have to consider how the wide area protection, communication and control in energy systems can be done. Then we have to see that how we can do the smart sensing and advanced metering infrastructure installations, right, to facilitate the energy management and data monitoring, as well as collection of informations from renewable energy sources, so on and so forth. Then energy management system with application to buildings and home automation. With reference to this point, I will share with you one of my experience of working European Union Framework 7 project. That project was with our University of Agadir, and I was the technical manager of that project. That project was for 3.5 years. During that project period time, many of the master students, they worked on that project and they completed their master thesis on that. And then when we are talking about all these things, then we have to work on the standards also, because we need to have some standard scores and protocols for making some uniform, making some proper implementation of various type of technologies which have different operational, technical and operational characteristics, as well as different economic characteristics also. So now you got the overview. Now here I am going to share with you this slide, which I have taken from G Global Research, but it is going to provide you a very good information with reference to how, with reference to the intelligent intelligent integration of different type of energy resources with energy storage and load management within the distributed network and its connection to the main grid. So here you can see that this, let's say this is a typical distributed network, and this typical distributed network we are trying to make it more smart and intelligent. Okay, and of course it is connected to the main grid also. Okay, so let's start with the main grid. Okay, so here point of common coupling, whatever we call it, or the substation. Okay, from the substation, right, we are going to get the main electricity supply, but within this distributed network we are trying to have the understanding like how different type of energy resources, including renewable energy sources and conventional generations also, how they can be integrated, how the loads they can help in management side, and how different type of energy storage technologies they can also be integrated or studied, for example battery bank or maybe electrolytic hydrogen also, and some of the controllable load also. So let's say high capacity controllable load, for example the water treatment plant, for example. Then within this distributed network, okay, then here we need to have the centralized energy management system. Let's say here we have the centralized energy manager or management system. Basically it is all going to be autonomous, and then of course then when we have different sources here and different storage technologies also connected to the main grid, then we need to do the operation of this system in more energy efficient way, as well as considering the market economics also. So here we have to consider the market operation. So now let's start with the wind. Okay, so we know that the wind is very intermittent in the nature. Okay, and through this when wind is intermittent into the nature, so we need some local control network also here. So we have one local control network here, and here in this picture the blue line is demonstrating or showing the communication and control network, which is managed by a centralized energy manager of this distributed network. Now if suppose there is going to be some fault or something like that, so of course we need to have the local protection element. So local protection element is also here, and here you can see that this wind, due to its intermittent nature and due to its clean energy source, okay, so it is going to get the priority within this distributed network to inject the generated power, okay, from this source, right, into the network. Okay, similarly when we come to the photovoltaic here, okay, depending on the available capacity or available area within that distributed network, we can aggregate how much solar photovoltaic panels which we can provide there. Okay, then the solar photovoltaic panel going to have their local control network. Okay, within this local control network, for example here it is going to be have the maximum power point tracking mechanism, as well as either grid following strategy or so that it can inject the power. So the strategy of connection of the photovoltaic to the grid, okay, we will take one workshop on that one, and Kunara will take part in that workshop and will explain you how this power conditioning device for the photovoltaic is going to inject the power based on the grid following strategy to the network. If we come back to the wind here, okay, depending on the wind turbine capacity and area also, so this can be either let's say to have the maximum power point tracking for wind turbine generator, or otherwise if it is a permanent magnet synchronous generator with variable voltage variable frequency output, then we need to have the AC to DC and DC to AC converter here. So depending on which type of electrical generators are used into the wind turbine, accordingly this control unit will be designed. Okay, but here you can see that the wind turbine is difficult to have small capacity wind turbine on each houses, but it is more good to have a couple of high capacity wind turbines within the distributed network, subject to the availability of the wind. Okay, then coming to the another very interesting point, that is the conventional generation. So conventional generation is going to be required within the distributed network for managing the intermittency of the renewable energy sources in coordination with energy storage, as well as if suppose if we have to operate this microgrid or the distributed network in more like islanding mode or off-grid mode, then also we will need distributed generation. And I believe that you have taken this example or you have taken this case in the Homer workshop. In the Homer workshop, you might have studied that how we have to find out the capacity of the photovoltaic and also the distributed generation and of the energy storage also with reference to the aggregation change of the load. So here you can see that how the learning from the your workshop is combining are going to be utilized in this picture here. Okay, then another point here, this conventional generation, right? So if suppose if we take the case for the cold climatic area or the Nordic climatic area, then in some of the countries they are running those conventional generation as a combined heat and power, and they are operating this units, let's say CHP unit, for heat purpose also and the power purpose also. Then we have to see the thermal network. So here you can see that the orange dot line is showing for the thermal network, and then heat is provided to the load also to the electricity and maybe for other applications also. So here the good point is that this distributed generation, if it is a combined heat and power unit, it is going to provide, it is going to provide two type of energy carriers. One is electrical, of course, and then another is the thermal energy carrier. So depending on the location and situation, so these conventional generations can have many advantage also. Okay, and depending, let's say where we are using the biodiesel also, or biomass fired also, or gas fired also, or maybe even we can use the fuel cell also. Okay, so there is a lot of further interesting discussion or study which we can do on the conventional generation. Then coming back to the domestic load side, on the domestic load side, most of the houses, let's say, they may have the building integrated renewable energy sources, and some of the appliances, they can also be used for power management or demand side management also. So here you can see that these houses, they can also have the load controller here, okay, or local control network with appropriate protection system. Then at the same time, then if you come to the very high capacity load within the distributed network, so in this case, for example, it has been taken as a water treatment. Okay, so this water treatment plant can have this communication and control network, and then of course we need some thermal energy also for the water treatment plant, so that is also going to be there. And another thing which you might have seen, that here this gray dot line is representing the electrical network. So here in this picture you have the two type of networks, one is electrical network and another is the thermal network. But in some cases there may be one more network, that is going to be the gas network. Okay, so in many countries there is a proper gas network also, so that gas have been used for the house heating or for house home, in the home use also, and then that gas can also be used for conventional generation if we are using gas fired power plants, and then that gas can also be incorporated with this new type of energies, not new, but the non-conventional energy storage in the form of electrolytic hydrogen also, so that hydrogen can be injected into the gas network, which is happening now in UK also. So at some point I will share with you one of my experience, that how we can produce the hydrogen using renewable energy sources, so that clean hydrogen can be injected into the gas network also. Then another very interesting point that also you studied in the last lecture of Homer, that we need to have the appropriate energy storage. So this energy storage, sometime it will work as the load, and sometime it will be working as supplying the power or the energy within this distributed network. So that is going to be like a bidirectional. So here we will need, of course, the control network as well as getting the information from the energy storage, how much state of energy levels are available within the battery, as well as battery state of health also, and then of course the protection unit for protecting the network as well as the battery bank. Then another thing which I mentioned just now, that we can also work, or we can also do further work on, let's say, whenever we have some excess energy from these primary renewable energy sources with reference to the load, and we don't want to sell back that electricity to the grid, and maybe at some point the supply from the grid or the main network maybe at the lower price. So those energy when we have available from the main grid at the lower price, one point. A second point, maybe when we have the excess energy from the primary renewable energy sources, then we can store that in the form of electrolytic hydrogen as a long-term energy storage, in addition to the battery bank, which we can use for the short-term energy storage. So here, if we are going to store that energy in the long term, right, then we need to have the electrolyzer to produce the electrolytic hydrogen and then storing the hydrogen. And when we have the stored hydrogen, to convert it back into the electricity, we need the fuel cell also. So this is a very good point for doing further research work. And one of the student in the 2 years before, he did very good project work on designing or doing further analysis of electrolyzer, hydrogen storage, and the fuel cell combined, so that we can study how much energy is going to be required to produce the particular amount of electrolytic hydrogen, and if that stored energy in the form of electrolytic hydrogen, if it has to be utilized through the fuel cell, then how it is going to work. So here with reference to the electrolyzer, we can use either proton exchange membrane electrolyzer or alkaline electrolyzer also. So one of our former student, right, who had one of the best master thesis also, he is doing his PhD on the electrolyzer, right? So maybe if you are interested, so his name is Thomas, and Thomas Faraday, he is in our Grimstad campus, so we can talk with him, and he can also help or guide you also. Then here, with reference to the hydrogen storage, we can store the hydrogen into the compressed gas form. We can store the hydrogen into the cryogenic form. Also, we can store the hydrogen in the metal hydride form also. So that is again a very good point. And then of course, when we have the stored hydrogen, then we can utilize it to the fuel cell. So you know that the fuel cells, we have very different type of, like proton exchange membrane fuel cell, alkaline solid oxide fuel cell, methanol fuel cell, or something like that, molten carbonate fuel cells and like that. But when we have the pure hydrogen, okay, so we have to go for the alkaline fuel cell or maybe proton exchange membrane fuel cell. So that we can discuss at the later stage. And I believe that already you have one course on fuel cell technology. So the learning from that course can also be utilized in this smart grid system here. So here in this picture, you can get a lot of ideas, right? How we have to, first point, how we have to design, or how we have to find out the techno-economic optimum sizing of wind, photovoltaic, and conventional generation or distributed generator with energy storage, considering appropriate load profile and putting some grid constants from the substation point of view. And I believe that in the last lecture, Arvind and the Konara, they might have discussed those points with you. Okay, and those points can be very useful for getting the overview, like starting point, like how much sizing should be there. And there are some of the research articles, right, which we have published with reference to this one. They are available on our university library web link. Also means like you can download the full length paper and you can read them. One of the paper, it is published in Sustainable Energy Technology Assessment, where we did the performance evaluation of different type of microgrid architecture, um, uh, especially considering the institutional load. Okay, so in that work, the institutional load means like one official institution have been considered, and for that institution, like how the load profile is going to be there. Okay, how the critical and non-critical or essential and non-essential loads they have been distributed, how much capacity of solar photovoltaic can be available depending on the area, and then the wind was not there, but then we know that there is going to be some grid constants also. That grid constants can be defined either through the power pricing mechanism, or maybe network capability limit also, network capacity limits also. And then of course we knew with reference to this load profile of that institution, the energy storage size can be calculated. Based on these values, then we can see that how this system is going to perform, let's say for a yearly time basis. Okay, when we are going to do this yearly time basis, and depending on the location, maybe at some point, let's say if it is the condition of a developing country or underdeveloped world, or maybe somewhere like there may be some grid outage, maybe typical let's say 1 hour 2 hour grid outage or load shedding, maybe from the higher side, because there is not that much high capacity power plants are available, so on and so forth. So due to that, this smart distributed network is going to operate more like a islanding operation mode. So during that islanding operation mode, how the photovoltaic distributed generators and the energy storage, they are going to be operate, and how they are going to supply, and how they are going to fulfill the reliability of the supply within the distributed network that have been reported in that paper of sustainable energy technology assessment. Good. So I believe that now you got a good idea, and based on this idea, I think that you may be in a position to identify some of the topic with reference to your interest for doing research oriented task for this smart grid course couple. So now what I request, now we will take a little break of 10 to 15 minutes, and then again we will start back. Okay, so now let's have a 10 to 15 minutes break, and then I will come back here again. Okay.
Yeah.